All right. Welcome to another episode of Confessions of a Street Broker. Here with me today, longtime sidekick partner, Turner TP Petersen.
Good to be here.
Good to be here. Glad to have you. It's a drinking sport. We're drinking.
Yes, we are.
Oh. So this is going to be a very, very fun episode here as we dive into all the many dregs that we lived through in this industry. And so Turner and I are partners for a long time, and before I really kind of stepped out of brokerage and passed the torch to him for the hollow. So, but Turner, let's get your background real quick, and then we'll dive into many of things.
Sure. Well, grew up kind of all over the place. Military family.
Yep.
Ended up in Oklahoma City when I was younger, about 12 years old or so, and then went to high school there. Hopped on down to Rice University. Played a little ball.
Yeah.
And then came up to Dallas. Was kind of bouncing around. Didn't really know what I was doing, and got a call from Jeff Mercer one day and said, "Would you like to real estate?" And I said, "Yeah, let's do it."
Well, hold on. Hot second.
Okay.
You had a hot second in the league, right?
Yeah, very hot second.
Okay. Because you came up to Mercer Company to interview, and you were swollen like a balloon at that time. How much did you weigh then? 245, 250?
Yeah, every bit of it.
Yeah. So
it's a big old boy.
Yeah, you were jacked up.
Yeah.
And you interviewed with us. I
did, yeah. So I came up, probably got every answer wrong that Jeff asked me. But, I think overall it felt like, maybe there was a fit.
Yeah.
And Jeff was like, "You want to come to work?" And I kind of told him, I'd like to chase this dream. Still trying to play ball, get healthy. And I realistically had probably a year of training, traveling.
Because you had torn your ACL in your senior year.
Yep.
In your last game?
Yeah, senior night before we went and played.
In the bowl game?
Yeah, we had a conference championship and then bowl game.
But you didn't get to play in the conference championship because you blew your knee out. Like literally like walking into the end zone, right? Or something?
Yeah, it was like I was out blocking on the perimeter and play was over and I stopped and there it went. So I don't know if that's a testament to my athleticism or...
It's a testament to turf, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, that was some old turf for sure. But yeah, just kind of a freak deal that kind of changed the trajectory of things. But so it was cool. I said to Jeff, I don't know that I'm done. I might be, but I'm kind of still chasing this thing. And he's like, "You got to run that dry.
Yeah.
You got to go pursue that."
Yeah.
So he pretty much said, "Hey, this will be here when you're done.
Yeah.
Give me a call."
Yeah.
So
then you leave Dallas.
Yeah. I go train. I'm in Tampa for probably 6 or 7 months training out in Sarasota.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We use the IMG facilities to train regularly down there. There's a great trainer. Did that and then came back here. Needed to make a little money, so I was working as a landman for a oil and gas company out of Oklahoma City, a good family friend.
Yeah.
And training here in Dallas, and then went back to Tampa for mini camps after the draft. I didn't get drafted or anything like that.
Yeah.
Had bounced around to a few spots before then, but Tampa was probably the best bet.
Mm-hmm.
And then, after a short weekend there, came back and I was like, I think that's it.
But you do have a claim to fame.
The catch?
The catch.
Yeah. I guess that is, I guess there was I caught Jameis Winston's first pass in the NFL.
Yeah.
And now if he was, NFL MVP, that'd probably be pretty dope.
Well, he's playing now. He got thrown in the game the other day.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he was a character, man.
Yeah.
It was funny. It was interesting 4 days in Tampa or whatever it was. It was wild.
So that ends. Tampa cuts you.
Mm-hmm. Come back, pick up the oil and gas deal again. Just
Well, okay, let's go back to when Tampa cuts you.
Okay.
Are you like, this is it? I'm done?
Yeah, like you just kind of get to a point where you're like, dang, like go to one place, you're there for 4 hours. You fail a physical, you're out. You're coming back.
Yeah.
You go up somewhere, think it's a great workout, come back, after a day. They're like, it's no.
Yeah.
And then, I was at Tampa and like I was getting great opportunities and getting good reps and stuff like that. And when it was done, I think I just kind of got to my point where I was like, it's time to kind of
move on.
Yeah. That felt like it was the best chance I was going to get at the time.
Yeah.
And like, I never wanted to go play like Canadian or anything like that, which maybe I should have considered it, but I mean, it just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So when it just kind of came to a point, I was like, I talked to my family and thought and prayed about it. And we're just like, that
felt at peace with it.
Yeah. And I wasn't at peace, but I was like, I'm done traveling. I'm done doing this.
I think tell me if you experience this, but I think the worst part of that is next year. When everybody's like starting, because I think in August, no matter what age you are, you still identify as a football player.
Yeah.
If that was a big part of your life.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, like going into like camp and you're watching like Hard Knocks, and I think, man, that might have been the year Tampa had Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
And so like I'm watching it and like I was there with you. Like I was with you, dude. Like what are you doing still there?
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. And then you play against a bunch of dudes, all these games throughout your career, and like you get to know dudes that are out there and seen them play, and you're like, dang, maybe I could have done that. Yeah, maybe I'm
right. And then that next year, you're like, I think that really messes with you. That next year,
for sure.
I think after that next year, you kind of accept it a little more that it's over, and the what ifs start fading because you're like, well, I already threw a year away. So like getting back into this is, me and Tammany and the kids went to a tree farm the other night to get our Christmas tree, and this young high school kid's like really, really nice, really helpful. And he looked at Barrett, he goes, and Barrett had his Walnut Grove High School football t-shirt on. He goes, hey man, you go to Walnut Grove? He goes, yeah. He goes, you play football? He goes, yeah. He goes, what grade are you in? He goes, I'm a freshman. He goes, oh, okay, man, awesome. He goes, I was like, where do you go to school? He goes, oh, I want to go to McKinney. And McKinney they're like 13th in the nation this year, or in the state or something. They had an incredible team. Well, they had just lost their playoff game the previous week before. And it was the same day. That same day we went and earlier that day we had gone and watched Prosper lose to North Crowley at the Star. And I was just talking to this kid, and I could just see in him, he was a senior, and I could just see in him that like he doesn't understand it's over for him.
Sure.
And it's not going to hit till next year. But God, you could tell that kid loved playing football. Totally. And I was like, God, this is such a short time period. And that's what, last year, when Barrett tore his ACL, he was kind of removed from football because he couldn't do anything.
Totally.
So, and he was just like, hey, I don't think I want to play football anymore. I'm like, no, bro. I was like, you got 4 years left of this. Yeah. Like, maybe. Yeah. If you don't get hurt again, you got 4 years left at best. Chances of you being a Division I athlete are very slim. So like you're playing Texas high school football.
Yeah.
So anyways, it's and that same day, how many kids on that field for Prosper? That was it.
Yeah.
That was your last game, man. See you later. The flaming Ferris wheel will go on without you.
Yeah.
So
you joke about it all the time, and dog guys that are like glory days and stuff like that. But it's a blip on the radar.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, it's like a massive identity for them.
And it is. Well, and that's what I still think. Like, I mean, like any August comes around, all these emotions and all these feelings start coming back around because it is not anywhere near actually going to a real war, but it is like, it's a pretty physically daunting task.
Yeah, for sure.
And it, you do risk, body and limb doing it. So anyways, it's, I I don't know. That's just, so you're done in Tampa. You make peace with it.
Mm-hmm.
Come back to Dallas or go back to Oklahoma City. Or are you in Dallas being a landman?
Yeah, I was in Dallas. I was kind of working like southeast corner of Fort Worth.
Okay.
Rough.
So like Crowley, Everman, all that south of 20?
Yeah, rough.
Okay.
Rough.
Yeah.
And oil and gas kind of trends the wrong direction and falls out. The first people to go are landmen. And
yeah,
I think like the day before I was getting cut, Jeff calls me again. Hey, you still thinking about real estate?
Yeah.
I was like, absolutely. He's
Yeah.
like, well, when would you like to come in and start? I'm like, tomorrow? Is tomorrow good? Yeah. He just kind of laughed and it just all worked out. I mean, it's a God thing, 100%.
Yeah.
Just.
I think this is right. You're probably the third longest tenured guy at Mercer Company, right?
Currently? Yeah.
You're ahead of Keenan, right?
No. I was one behind Keenan.
1 year behind Keenan? Okay. Yeah. So it's me, then Corby, then Keenan, and then you.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Correct.
Okay. So, all right. So Jay Murr calls you up.
Yep.
You're like, okay, put me in, coach.
Let's do it.
I'm getting fired over here anyway. We're getting cut over here anyway.
Job. I'm ready. Let's go. Yeah. So get the call. Come on into the old office over in Las Colinas.
Yep.
And just get going.
So did you start at the airport?
Yeah. So I was, Sammy had just kind of put in his 2 weeks notice. Right after I'd started. So I don't think we really had an idea of where I was going to go initially.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff kind of rumored the Northeast expansion, kind of talked about Richardson and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But nothing really decided. And then Sammy was like, I'm leaving. And that's where he just kind of plugged me in. So
yeah,
inherited a good little database and definitely a great spot to just dive in, super dense industrial and get after it.
So North Airport, good, bad, or indifferent.
Mm.
You could almost make the argument kind of not really our kind of territory because of the amount of institutional in there. Now you can rip off some tenant reps in there.
Yeah.
But the leasing side of things is pretty tough.
Yeah.
And there's just fewer owner users in there. So
100%.
So that is the challenge of that market, not having an alphabet business card, the JLL, CBREs of the world, But so you and I started kind of just chasing some bigger tenant rep deals in there together. And I don't know that we really got traction on any. I mean, we got kind of somewhere with some people, but golly, they just.
We were definitely like whale hunting.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff.
Yeah.
We knew.
We would only look at things like over 100,000 feet. That's what I would go look at with you. Anything like that. So
that and locally owned guys.
Right.
So we targeted, I don't know, maybe 60 or 70 tenants. And we're like, hey, this is potentially winnable stuff. Let's go make 5 calls a week or whatever it may be and try and go get some traction there. And
then eventually one day we just said, fuck that.
Let's just go to Brookhollow.
Let's go to Brookhollow. I was already in Brookhollow, several tours of duty under my belt. And so then you come in and we start, tearing it up. And that was about the time when I'd say like all these capital companies started showing up and capital, equity capital, infill, urban core, last mile.
Yep.
We sit in the ivory tower. They started going to us. This will only get worse, folks, as longer this goes. So we start tearing it up down there for several. I don't even know when we started. 17 or 18.
I think it was the end of 17, maybe.
Yeah.
So I think it was about 2 years in the airport.
Yeah.
And then dipped.
Mm-hmm. So we're tearing it up in Brookhollow. This is when I would say all these capital companies started showing up, and they're like, we've raised $1 billion, billion. And cool. I would say we didn't really do a lot of business with those people until we really got in tight with Romy at that point with Cantex. And
It was definitely the first one we did was Cantex. I think it was their first one in there also.
Yeah, I mean, I would say their first real portfolio, I would say you and I probably sold them and leased.
Yeah.
70%. It was about a 650,000 foot portfolio they took out. I bet we were 70% of it.
No, we had a good chunk of the Brookhollow stuff in that portfolio at least.
And we had Fort Worth too, and we did Beach Street.
Yeah, that's right, Beach. That's right.
That was a 100,000 foot deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once Romy came on the picture, it totally changed the trajectory of our entire model.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was, I remember I met with this guy. He's with a capital group, and this was kind of when I was transitioning more to the Matador side of things. But he asked me, he's like, and I'm meeting with him in his office in Old Parkland. And he asked me, he goes, why do you think Romy sees more deals than I do? I go, Romy offices in the fucking market he wants to own. I go, you know how many times I just go over there and heat my lunch up and eat it and sell him a building? I go, you're in Old Parkland. Do you know how intimidating that is for an industrial broker? Like,
yeah, not going there.
I mean, have you ever been to Old Parkland?
Is that the one like on Oaklawn? It's like where the old Bush office or
it's
something
like the Illuminati.
Yeah, I think I went to like a wedding there and I was just blown away.
It's like the Illuminati.
Okay.
It really is. It's like...
Yeah, probably not going over there.
No.
Yeah.
And so I go, you're over here. He's literally sitting in the epicenter of what he wants to own.
Yeah.
I thought that was genius of him. He didn't care. It was funny. Romy actually moved in. His first office was Mercer Company's previous first office.
That's
Mercer Company opened in that building.
Yeah.
We were right behind where he was, but in that complex, So a lot of great real estate has come out of that little flex park over there on Empire Central.
It's been pretty good.
But I told him, I go, look, man, I can go over there to Romy, take him a deal. We can chop it up in 2 seconds, and I can go back to the owner. I can drive right back around the corner to the owner and get this thing done.
Yeah.
I go, unless you're willing to do that, you don't have a competitive advantage. He's going to kick your ass every time.
Yeah.
And
along with that was just the smoothness of the transaction.
It was easy.
Hey,
it was very easy.
Here you go.
Here we go. Here we do it.
See it closing.
Take this back to him. Got it. We'll be back. I mean, we can literally just drive back and forth between someone's office and between Romy's office and the seller's office, and boom, 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 boom. And Romy gave us a lot of opportunities to buy in the deals with them, and that was really gracious of him to do that. Right. And taught us a lot. And it's funny. I remember the first time Romy called me, and he was like, hey, man, I want to buy buildings. And I was like, get in line, motherfucker. I went and met with him at his law office, and I was just like, yeah, whatever. But I think you really he got a hold of you, and you sold him you got him on round table. And then that kind of really spurred that relationship from there.
Yeah. So he wanted to buy 1151 Empire.
Right.
He wanted to buy that. Right. And I think you were like, no, you need to sell it to a user. Yeah. Let's get real.
Yeah.
And we did have a price threshold that our seller needed kind of on that.
Well, and that was, that was an interesting time in the market when we listed that. That was when, man, the things started going up and to the right, but it was at the very beginning. Totally. And I remember that listing presentation, we're sitting there and he's like, what would you list this at? I go, well, your buildings were low 70s a foot today.
Yep.
I go, but by the time we list it and market it, it's going to be worth like 83.
Yeah.
So we better just jump it. So I think we listed at 85 and we transacted at 80.
Yeah. I kind of remember that 80 number being.
Yeah. It had an 8 in front of it, which at the time was like, we're setting some records,
Big.
Yeah.
I don't remember who it was, but there was another broker that spent some time down there, and he called me and he said, what are you asking for? I go, 85. He just laughed at me.
Yeah. Well, we got it.
But
David Gwynn showed up with somebody.
Gwynn made it work. Yes, we spun that off though, and Romy's like, "Well, do you have anything else?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got." If you look down this Governor's Row at the end of the street,
Jeff Van Y, Whip.
Yep.
So, and he had a tenant in tow, right? He had TJ in tow.
Romy had TJ in tow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that worked out.
And then we leased the other side. And we got a listing from Jason and Larry Mosier for the lot next door.
That's right. We did.
So
yeah, that was kind of
that. So people that are listening to understand this is kind of an interesting concept, but I think kudos to Jason and his dad for recognizing this, that we had a listing. Jason owned an adjacent lot, really nice lot, like fenced, paved, all these things. Well, it actually added a ton of value to the adjacent building if you could put it all together.
Right.
And then instead of Jason listing it, he called us and was like, hey, we want y'all to list it.
Yeah.
And, and Jason was probably our top competitor down there at the time.
No doubt.
And, he's like, y'all are the best fit for this. So,
Totally.
So we listed it for him, then we ended up leasing it.
Yeah. And I mean,
and it made the deal. That's what made the deal for that tenant. That tenant needed that parking requirement.
Honestly, what made the deal from a sale and lease perspective, because if you look at that building without that lot, it's not a multi-tenant building because your loading's not there.
No, it's not.
It's all on the other side.
So we had to take the fence down, cut a concrete drive into it, but we married it and made it work.
Yeah.
And so that was the first building we sold, Romy, right?
Yeah, that was it.
And then it was,
that's where it got going.
Yeah. And so, anyways, it took off from there. I want to talk about probably the most badass real estate deal of all time. And I'll put it up against anybody's fucking real estate deal that we did. And that's the Mary Kay deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to do another one of those. That was awesome.
That was crazy. So you call me one day and you're like, dude, I'm on Carpenter Freeway right now, and there's this guy standing in front of our. I don't even remember. What do we have? I think we have one of Bryant Rathie's buildings listed. It was 7900 John Carpenter or
88 facade.
Okay. So he calls us and is like, "Hey, I'm standing in front of this building. I want to buy industrial down here." Yeah. We're like, "Okay," and you're like, "Hey, this guy's kind of for real. He's not. It didn't seem like a fund or anything. He was just a guy."
Yeah.
And is this guy named Gerard Keating. And
yeah.
So I run down there and we go throw him in a bunch of buildings real quick. He's a former broker. Mm-hmm. Like, I would love to see him as a broker. I bet he was a fucking animal.
He was probably Mad Dog for sure.
And this guy's from Nebraska. Awesome dude. But he was like, I want to buy something big. And I was like, dude, there ain't nothing big down here. There's probably 10 buildings above 100,000 feet down here. And but that was, at the time, the Mary Kay plant on Regal Row. Humanetics had purchased it, and Mary Kay was leasing it back with the intent to move out of it, and Humanetics had the intention to move into it. I had a relationship with Humanetics from the metal manufacturing days, and Robert Hasty, the president of that, he was always a very gracious guy with me and would always just, even though I was a competitor of his, I was a lot smaller, but he would always give me a lot of just advice and all that stuff. And he... So I was like, well, I know they're not using the annex building. And the annex building was 135,000?
32 or 36, yeah.
Yeah, 100 something, 30 something thousand feet. And I was like, I know they're not going to use that. And maybe they'll sell it. And so I reached out to Robert and I was like, hey, man, you going to lease that? And he goes, yeah. I go, well, can I interview for it? And he's like, well, no, Bill De La Chapelle's my guy. And I said, okay, cool. Well, you want to sell it? And he goes, no. I go, well, will you look at an unsolicited offer? And sure. So you and I submitted him an offer at $65 a foot.
Yeah, sounds right.
And he got pretty interested.
Real quick.
Yeah. And so we end up getting it under contract. Well, and, I guess I credit Gerard for this.
He lit a fire.
Man, he fucking wore us out. But it worked.
It worked.
So what he did, and it's funny now being on my side of things where I do the same thing now to people, all my listing brokers, I call them every Monday and I'm like, what's going on? They're like, let me make up some stuff that happened last week.
A lot of promising things going on.
Yeah, it's looking great. So, but he was like, I ain't closing. I'm not closing unless you find me a tenant. I'm not taking the risk.
And this was like, it might have been like a 45-day look.
Yeah.
With 15. This was like day 20.
Yeah.
It was
it's like his personality flipped.
Yeah. He was like, I'm in. And then he wasn't. He's like, I can't close this unless.
If I don't have a tenant, I ain't doing this. I ain't doing this if I don't have a tenant. You better find me a tenant. Mm. So, damned if you didn't go fucking run up to the Lone Star Electric and find it. I mean, we were out pounding it. And, you know what's funny about all that? So you and I sit down, we're like, okay, who's the top brokers that can bring 130,000 foot tenant to Brookhollow, and achieve the rates that we told this guy that we think this thing leases for and all that stuff. The first call I made was Mark Miller. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you probably got somebody for this.
Agreed.
And he's like, no, don't have anybody for that. Okay, cool. So I'm just saying that because this comes up later in the story. Yeah. So Turner runs up in Lone Star, and they're like, we want that damn thing.
I knew, also like your familiarity with the tenants and the needs and, our list of guys that we know are looking, like, what they want.
Yeah.
And I knew what they wanted, but it just didn't exist in Brookhollow.
Right.
And when we got this, it was like one call and done. It was like this, if somebody in here is going to take this down, it's right here.
Yeah.
And so I go, and it might have been like around lunchtime or something like that.
Yeah.
And I knew what the dude at Lone Star drove. I knew it wasn't there, but I just went and sat in the parking lot for like 2 hours since they showed up and bombarded him in the truck court.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we got to talk, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So we start getting engaged with Lone Star. We get him a lease proposal. We get into proposals with them. We have a big kumbaya meeting with them on the way into it, and we get the lease. We get the lease rolling, and then they have a guy out of Houston that's like their president or something. Mm-hmm. Anyways, he calls me, and he's like, well, I don't have a broker on this. I go, yeah. Okay. He goes, well, I think I need to bring someone in. I go, cool. He goes, you have a problem with that? I go, fuck yeah, I do.
Yeah.
He goes, why? I go, because I brought you the deal that you need. I go, and if you want to do this, you'll never see anything from us again.
Yeah.
I go, don't punish me. Don't punish Turner for hitting home runs. Like, we did this.
Yeah.
And so I go, if you want to bring someone in, you're paying them. I ain't paying them.
Yep.
So you know who they brought in? Their broker, Mark Miller.
Mr. Miller.
I never told them this, but I was like, I called your guy first. And I love Mark. Don't take this as a slide. No. Mark is one of the top motherfuckers. Like, I love him. He's awesome. But they didn't know that. I think at the end of the day, they didn't know they were looking until they found this.
Yeah.
I don't think we brought it to them. And that's the kind of the nuance of brokerage, right? Like, you think someone's your client until another broker brings them something you didn't.
For sure.
And then guess what? The knife comes out.
Yeah.
It's very rare that you have the control where they're like, call this guy.
Yeah, this is my guy.
No. They will step over you like a dead body in the street and go right on to the next thing. So they agreed to that. So they brought, I was like, hey, they go, hey, we're going to bring Mark Miller in. I go, hell yeah. I love that. I go, but I ain't paying him.
Yeah.
And they're like, cool, we got it. We'll pay him.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I felt great about that. I was like, if you bring Mark in, Turner and I will get this done. Because Mark is a deal maker,
in those size of transactions too, it's like, we probably made that deal a lot to Mark's credit.
Yeah.
Just being on the other side and coaching them through it.
And so so anyways, we get this deal agreed to. We close the building and sign the lease the same day.
Yeah.
So this is and direct, and we charged a full tenant rep and landlord rep fee for that commission. It was a good day.
I think we went straight to Javier's.
Yeah, we did. And we ran into Bill De La Chapelle there.
Yeah, and he was there.
He was there.
Celebrating as well.
Yeah. And so that was called, like, literally call it playing chess and checkers all at the same time across the street. I mean, we literally grabbed a tenant on Regal Row, leased him a building 5 buildings down on Regal Row. That I call that probably one of the greatest transactions. It's probably the greatest transaction I've ever done.
Certainly for me.
Yeah. And we learned a lot on that. We tried to sell the rest of the plant to Gerard, and then he just got nervous and dropped it. And we had him under contract on that office building too, at the end of the block, the gold office building.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Boy, he better be glad he didn't buy that thing. The thing is just a tombstone.
It wasn't your pitch to sell to Trump Towers. It's gold.
Right. And so we sell that building to him. I'll tell you the big scam in that whole deal belonged to the city of Dallas.
Yeah.
City of Dallas scammed everybody in that deal in a way. And let's talk about that. So the Mary Kay facility is located in a little triangle where they are putting the brand new Salvation Army site. And that Salvation Army site, it's a homeless encampment. It's a nice homeless encampment is what it is. And not dissing the Salvation Army and the work that they do, but that's what it is. So adjacent owners are going to be concerned about the amount of traffic of homelessness that come to that. And so they throw a big fit in the city about this. And the city, to appease this triangle, says, hey, we're going to deem this an empowerment zone.
Yes.
And we'll give you a 10-year tax abatement if you spend $250,000, up to $250,000, something like that. They had this deck on it and everything. So I was like, hey, this is a real thing. And we had to spend like 1.3 million to make the Lone Star deal on a tenant improvement because the facility had no office. So we had to build out their offices for them. And so,
and it was bring 10 jobs to the triangle.
It was nothing. It was very, the hurdles to meet it,
we 10x'd them.
Yeah. Me and Mark Miller go down to the city and meet with this guy named Courtney Pogue, I believe.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah. We all go down there and, they pretty much just denied it. And they had no back. It was just, sorry.
I don't know why you don't qualify, but you don't.
Yeah. And that was kind of unfortunate. It didn't really sideline anything, but it was some bullshit politics.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something funny. I don't know if you know this, but, I don't know if he completely got it or not, but Shoal Creek and Jack's building that development right there. And I was having lunch with Jack one day and I go, well, you know about the empowerment zone, don't you? He goes, what? I go, yeah, bro. Yeah. If you're building a building over there, you get a tax abatement. And he went to work on it. And I think he got it. But I think he had to do some wild acrobatics to do it. So,
he's building on it practically. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So he's got to be the first, though.
Totally.
So I hope he did. I hope he skinned the city because they deserved it too. And so, anyways, but that was part of that hurdle. But I think a big thing in my mind and the shift in my career was also that deal because we were at the ranch. I remember this when this happened. It was during COVID.
We had a couple of those.
Gerard gets scared during COVID.
Yeah.
And he says, he sends Lone Star an email and says, the price that you're paying in rent is equivalent to your mortgage payment with where interest rates are today. Would you like to buy the building at this number? It's like 105 a foot. Yeah. And they agreed to it.
Yeah.
And I don't think we didn't have any rights to a commission past then, but like.
I think it was any unearned or unamortized or whatever it was at the time of the lease, which kind of
it washed itself out. And so think I made like $5 million fucking
in like
18 months.
maybe.
And you know what he had? Money.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, fuck this. I'm figuring out how to get money.
Yeah.
And so that was a big realization for me. I was like, they need us.
Yeah.
We don't need them. We need money, you know? And, but that's how brokerage is. That's what we signed up for. We made a great fee on it. And, you know, we did what we did. And so that was part of my mind shifting to go to that trajectory. And that's why I eventually gave you my shoes one day.
Dropped some worn off shoes on my desk. I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what that is, people, is I had my dress shoes for my suit, and I tied them together and dropped them on Turner's desk one day, and I said, "It's all yours, brah. I'm gonna go buy buildings.
Call me when you got something for me to buy."
Yeah, call me when you got a building to buy." So anyways, that's kind of the summary of probably one of the greatest real estate deals of all time, in my opinion. I'm sure someone's done a better one.
Our biased opinion.
Yeah, but
maybe a little unbiased. Maybe.
I don't know. Pretty damn good.
It's a good one. It was a good one. We were on the bus with everybody when we found out it was happening.
Oh yeah, at the
so obnoxious.
Our Brookhollow bus.
So excited.
Yeah, we threw a Brookhollow bus tour.
Yeah,
and we got Prologis and Stone Lake and ML and all those guys to sponsor it.
Yeah, it was more of just like a
drinking tour
at the time. Yeah, it was like it's a pretty close knit group of Brookhollow guys, like brokerage wise.
Yeah,
you know, for the most part, you get along with everybody, so it was an excuse for us to go hang out and drink.
Well, and they would have these bus tours, and they have these bus tours, but it's only institutional stuff.
Totally,
like South Dallas Airport,
1 million square feet.
I remember Kane and Schultz put out earlier this year, or I think it was earlier this year. It's like, hey, South Dallas bus tour. I go, you got to start advertising. Shit ain't easy no more on the leasing side. So he's like, no, activity's great. And then like South Dallas is like a fucking hole right now.
Yeah, it's funny. That was we looked at Prologis' Big Beauty on the Ambassador, and I think at the time we were listing 8319 Chancellor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come walk this 12-foot clear.
Yeah, I want to see a 12-foot clear piece of shit.
The copper's been stripped out of 4 times.
Yeah, we got fired from that listing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that in general. Like, I don't think, the sentiment of brokers sometimes is very, very bad. And I don't think a lot. I mean, like on the industrial side, like, I'm sorry, office brokers, for the most part, you probably got it pretty easy if you got a good, clean space. But like, man, industrial, I remember during COVID, everybody starts doing virtual tours of their building and these pictures. And even the institutional people's buildings still look like shit on camera because it's a warehouse, right?
Yeah.
So, but, institutional people do a great job of like getting their space cleaned up and presentable and doing all those things. And, the difference is the listing broker doesn't have to do those things. And when, the more boutique brokerage like we are, you literally have to be the GC, property manager, and all this stuff all at one time. They expect you to do it because then this is a listing we had. It had a lot of challenges, being the fact that it was already just 12 foot clear. And then the guy would not put a dime in the the most frustrating thing for a broker is like, what? Hey, what should we do? This, and this. That'll help me win. Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks. And throw it in the trash. They don't do it. And then they call you 6 months later and go, why haven't you leased my building? Well, I don't know. Toilets smell like shit. And, I can't even turn the lights on because some meth head ripped your power out of your building. And like, what do you want me to do, man?
There's a homeless encampment at the back of the building.
Yeah. Like, am I supposed to clean this up? Like, I don't, I thought you want me to go find a person for your building. And, I don't know. It's, so what's your worst knife in the back story? that one really is like a
sour memory that I can really think of. I mean, if we sat here for a couple more hours, we'd probably have 100 of them. But that one, just because we literally gave them the recipe to sell it, and they told us, no, do it anyways, do it as it is, and got hit by copper thieves. Then the subsurface plumbing exploded.
Yeah.
Gallons of water gushing out of the dock doors.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I remember where I was when I got fired on that listing. I was literally on I-30 heading into downtown eastbound, and I got that email. And I remember I just picked up the phone, call you, and I was like, man, fuck these people, man. Like, seriously?
Yeah.
Like,
I think you're like, well, you're going to pay me a construction management, or you're going to give me some kind of a fee or something like that.
Yeah, I was like, you need to pay me something. We've like literally ran this project because this investor that owned it was out of California. Yeah. And I was like, or give me all your equities names because you failed.
That one was bad.
That was pretty bad.
And then, they're calling you for your expert advice.
Mm-hmm.
What? Now what's it worth? Now what's it worth? What's it worth? And we're like, dude, it's been worth $40 a foot or $30 a foot or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was worth the offers we got you.
Yeah, we got you 3 offers at this.
Yeah.
The market told us what it's worth, no matter what you think in your mind.
So that's an interesting thing, right? Like sellers don't necessarily believe the market. And at the end of the day, the market is what the offers are.
Yeah, totally.
This is what it is, man. Like,
yeah,
it's not, there's a bid and there's an ask, and the bid and the ask come to a certain point. And then when they come to a point, that's the market. It's not what the dude down the street sold his building for. And the other thing is, too, is you got to realize these buildings that we sell, they are not like selling a 3-2 in Bedford.
No, they're not cookie cutters.
They're not cookie cutters. They all have different features, different loading, different power, different clear heights, different compartmentalization within the building for certain things that work for some people that don't work for others. And I don't know. I don't know where I'm really actually going with this, but at the end of the day, it's
160 foot here is not 160 foot here, or 70 foot a foot here, because it's 2 buildings down is not $70 a foot here.
No, but
that number in their head, once they hear that, oftentimes it's, well, this is what I should get too.
Well, the interesting thing to me is that you make these calls on these people, and you demonstrate that you are the market leader for those things, and at the end of the day, they tell you what to do.
Yeah,
they hire you for your expertise and guidance, and then they tell you what to do.
Yep.
It's stupid.
Yeah. That's what it is. Tell me what you think. Okay, cool.
Well, here's what I think. Cool. All right.
Guess which one we're going to do.
Yeah. It's funny. I was in your office on Monday, I think. No, 2 Mondays ago.
Yeah.
And I told you about that property that was coming vacant, right?
Yeah.
So we tour your group through there. I get another group through there, and I leased that building previously. And I get the guy that leased it previously that's with another group now to go through there again and make a proposal. And I'm like, hey, man, you should give Mercer Company a shot on this listing. We leased it for you last time.
Yeah.
No. I'm talking to so-and-so over here, and I'm like, I go, so why am I the bridesmaid? It's really what I texted him. I go, why am I your bridesmaid? Oh, no, you're number 1 right now. I was like, well, sure. And then anyways, I toured that second group through there, get them through there. They want a proposal on it. I get him a proposal. And he goes, hey, should I hold off on putting the building on the market? I go, no. Why would you do that?
Yeah, no.
Okay, well, I'm going to get it listed. I'm like, and I'm listening with those guys. I asked him before that, I go, how many tours have you had? He goes, well, none, only the ones you've brought. I was like, I called you about it initially for someone else. Then I told someone else about it within our office. They brought a user. Then I brought another user. So we're 3 reps in almost on this thing. But you're going to hire the guys that don't even work this market.
Yeah. So what would you always call guys? Like in Brookhollow, you'd call them and be like, oh, no, I use this guy, or I use this guy. And you go, oh yeah, I'm always interviewing for runner-up or whatever it was.
I'm always auditioning for second place.
Second place, something like that. Yeah.
And that happens sometimes. You can show up for second place and, the bridesmaid turns into the bride.
Yeah.
But vegetable break. But I think some people think that the fees we make are ridiculous.
Sure.
But Mercer Company's hiring if you think you can do it.
Always hiring.
So, what do you think the biggest challenge for you has been as a broker?
It's probably just that grind of going back into the building that, you've been in and been told to F off probably 20, 30 times. And that guy's sitting behind that desk or that wall.
Yeah.
You're going to go around and he's already ripped up your business card and thrown it in your face. And, and just getting up and doing it again next month. Hey, well, okay.
Yeah.
That's probably what, more often than anybody, or more often than not, anybody would say in what we do. It's, it's that rejection, which, doesn't really mean much to any of us. It can't, but it's still, I got to go call on this guy again,
I think on top of it too, you have a gatekeeper there that,
you're like, come on.
She's kind of shit. They usually shit all over you too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of a double whammy.
I mean, that was Lone Star. Like I couldn't ever get through that gatekeeper.
Yeah. But you did.
Yeah, because I waited in the parking lot. So I didn't have to deal with her.
Build a better mousetrap.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Well, I think that's what brokering teaches you. It teaches you to be very creative. It teaches you to, I've always kind of said that I think brokering is you're building a puzzle. And while you're building this puzzle, you're playing chess over here. You're playing a checkers game right here. And you're holding 5 cards and playing poker right here.
Mm-hmm.
And you're trying to but all these games are interchangeable. It's like, okay, I'm working on this little farm right here, building all this together. I'm going to hop this guy over here. And then I got to negotiate with this guy over here. And then sometimes I'm going to walk next door and just knock it out, And that's the way it's always looked like to me. And I don't know. I think it's a hard road. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll in that industry.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So, I think another thing people don't realize, and I'll probably catch some shit for this, but I think brokers in Dallas are like, we were talking about this before we started this with Will. Will was sitting here just telling you, like, brokers here in Dallas are like the NFL. Like,
there's some damn good brokers.
I think if you can broker here, you can broker here in New York City. I think past that, it's I think Dallas brokerage is up there with New York, LA, I guess Chicago. I don't really know what I think about Chicago, but like New York, LA, Dallas.
Your bigger markets for sure. Yeah. But Dallas seems almost saturated with top dudes.
Yeah.
In any market.
It is.
So it's extremely competitive, but can be very rewarding as well.
It can.
Yeah.
It can be very rewarding.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think 2024 looks like? I don't see the bloodletting starting to happen. I feel like any bloodletting that's happened has happened. And like, okay, we're coming off the building, $20 a foot or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen that, but I'm not sounding the alarm by any means or anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't think we're getting flash sales or Brookhollow is going back to $60 a foot anytime soon or anything like that.
Are you right? I think so. So I think their prices will come down a bit. I don't think they will ever dip into the realms that they were.
No.
But like on your, like what about your tenant rep business? Like, what are you seeing with tenant rep?
Well, honestly,
are you starting to get any more concessions on industrial, or is there?
Yeah, I think, I don't know that I can say it's shifted totally from what has been a landlord's market to a tenant market.
Mm-hmm.
But, in more recent proposals and stuff that we're getting back, on renewals where some guys, like Prologis, like you don't get free rent on a renewal anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, there's deals where you're getting multiple months on a 5-year renewal.
Yeah. So Prologis is giving that now, you think?
Sure
we'll get sued for this.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk about them. They're pretty big. But I mean, like other institutional groups, like Heinz. Heinz, we were able to get some free rent on a 3-year deal even, and, get some concession on the rate.
Yeah, you just completed a deal in Inwood Trade Center, right?
Yeah.
You just did one, yeah.
Yeah, we did that, and, and also, you when the deal points change down the road, sometimes landlords will throw it out the window, but they didn't.
Did they move the goalpost on you? That's what I've seen on a couple deals. Is like the goalpost is ever moving with institutional landlords.
Yeah, that happens.
That's so fucking frustrating. It's terrible.
It is. Yeah, no, but yeah, there's become, if you look at our availables in Brookhollow right now, and you look at just like 15 to 30, which is predominantly the user market down there.
Yeah.
We've got more options than I've seen that are like actually available. Not like, hey, this one's coming up, or like it's
could be available.
Totally. Like you've actually got that vacant.
So leasing, what's funny is now that I buy all these buildings, I don't really buy in Brookhollow. And that was like home base. That was my sandbox.
Yeah. But don't you think that might be part of it? It's like, dude, I was selling stuff for $25 a foot.
Right. Well, it is. It is. It's like, I can't mentally do that.
I get it.
So that's tough, right?
Totally.
But
it's such a good product. That's the other tough part. It's like, man,
it is.
I'd love to get in there.
The other side of it is too, is like Romy wants to own all that. And like, you know what, man? This bump, bro.
Yeah.
It's all you. I'll go somewhere else. There's enough buildings to go buy.
There's a lot of buildings. There's a lot of buildings. Yeah. I mean, we talk, you and I talk about it all the time pretty regularly, where it's like, man, that was like, you were going from like, taking this guy on Chancellor to sovereign to whatever diplomacy. You were just shuffling pieces on a board.
Yeah.
These users.
Yeah.
Joe Schmo would move every 4 or 5 years because his business model would change or he'd grow. And now it's like it's not as much of a owner user market anymore.
Yeah.
So everybody getting acclimated to these now institutional ownership or,
I think my biggest aversion to it is I think that the institutional owner that buys down there doesn't understand the demographic.
Yeah, totally.
Because they will. So I think here's the problem. Here's the dislocation of that market. Institutional buyer needs to put out capital. Okay. Well, tenants that lease space is probably 20, maybe 25,000 feet and under.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once you get past 25,000 feet, kind of got a real business.
They want to own it.
They want to own it.
Yeah. To a certain point, I feel like.
I think to about 70,000 feet.
Sure.
So I think that the majority of buildings in Brookhollow are probably 25 to 70,000 feet. So 25 to 70,000 feet is the owner, entrepreneur, probably lives in the park cities, and you know what? Doesn't want to pay the man.
Yeah.
Well, where does capital need to play? Not in a 20,000 foot building that's not even worth starting the engine. So they buy all these buildings in the 25 to 70,000 foot range, and they can't lease them.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of buildings for lease down there right now like that. That kind of happened with Design District. Design District sold a bunch of buildings, then they tried to lease them for $15.
Yeah.
Dude, I looked at, I think it was in 2021. You know what the vacancy rate on Design District was? 15%.
Yikes.
Redbird was not at 15% during the great financial crisis. When you could buy buildings in Redbird for $15 to $20 a foot.
Gosh. Yeah, it's wild.
I don't know. Be careful on the leasing assignments you take.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And it's hard, you go in and pitch for some of these, and I'm getting priced out like on multiple of them.
But that's okay.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And now they're sitting on the market. But that's kind of the spiel. It's like, I don't want to just throw a big number at you to get an assignment.
You're better off not winning it. It's a fool's errand.
Yeah, but it's give and take. You're also like, damn, I don't want to lose that listing to a degree. But I'm with you. Yeah, you've got to be careful on those.
I will say this though, as much as we're sitting here bitching about brokers.
Yep.
I never thought I'd be in a business where I could make this much money.
It's an incredible opportunity for those that are willing to do what you have to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the saving grace to it.
Totally.
And you know what it is? It's probably 90% of your clients are great and 10% of them screw you, and that just really hurts.
Totally. Yeah.
And
those are the ones you really remember too.
Well, I want to shift to something else because we're working on trying to get your call-in line for us on this stuff, but we only have one football pick this week, and it's the Army-Navy game, which you are intimately familiar with.
Very, very. Probably, it's easily my first college football memory of a game that I went to.
I believe it. So your dad played football for Navy, right?
No, he went to the Naval Academy.
Went to Naval Academy.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was
a Top Gun, like pilot F-14.
Yep.
That was him. Like Kenny Loggins, like when Nels walks in, Kenny Loggins just starts playing.
That's him. That's him. Yeah, I come from a Navy family. My dad's dad was a vice admiral, X-15 test pilot with Neil Armstrong, to name one.
Wow.
He was the dude.
That's awesome.
And then dad went there, graduate, class of 80, Top Gun pilot, fought in some wars.
That's pretty awesome.
Pretty badass, for sure.
Nels, the general.
So this one's really close to home. And been to some pretty badass games in my life. And this one is absolutely up there. It's like I'll go to it every year, no matter where it is, if I get the chance.
Yeah. I would like to go to one year. I
must.
I had an appointment to West Point. I didn't take it, but it was a very compelling pitch. Like, I remember that coach sitting at my dining room table, and he has like this 3-ring binder that's like a 3-inch 3-ring binder, and he's flipping through all these pictures, and he's like, hey, you know what? After your sophomore year, you go to Alabama in the summer. You know what you do in Alabama? I was like, no, what? He goes, you fly Apache helicopters. And I was like, it's kind of cool. But I was like, I don't want to be in the Army. And I think my mom was all about it because I think she just wanted to say her son went to West Point or something, right? So it was I just came to the conclusion that I was like, you can leave at any time, but I can't.
Yeah, sure. Like I ran the Navy. Well, we threw the ball a little bit more, but in high school when I was playing quarterback, we ran the triple option.
Yeah.
And just murdered people with it.
You know what's interesting? Navy changes coaches, but they don't change his offensive schemes.
Well,
are they required to run that offensive scheme?
Well, Ken, however you say his last name, the Hawaiian guy, he was there for a while. Mm-hmm. He was there for a long time.
Why'd they get rid of him? Like, what are they like? Oh, we need to compete for national.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I think it was probably like a little bit of a mutual, like, hey, it's been a great run.
Yeah.
Maybe let's get a little breath of fresh air in here.
Sure.
So they had
but they're running the same offense
totally.
Again.
Yeah. I don't know. Because Air Force, like, I don't follow Air Force as much, but I feel like they throw the ball around a little bit more,
maybe,
than Army Navy
does. I don't know.
But yeah, this game's awesome to me. Like I'm genuinely excited. Where maybe a lot of people are just like,
Where did you say they're playing this year?
This one's in Foxborough, so Patriots.
Oh, Gillette. We have a Gillette story.
Yes,
this is pretty funny. This is pretty funny. So Mercer Company had a sales contest, and it was get as many comps as you could.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's like cheating, but
it's not cheating. I won.
You did not put it in the fine print. We could not do this.
So it was get as many comps as possible. And at the time, there was 2 portfolios selling in Brookhollow. So I got the OMs with all of the comps and the lease expirations.
Yeah, it was like comps and lease expirations.
Yeah, it was comps and lease expirations. And I think it was like, I had like 50 and the next one behind me was like 15.
Maybe. Yeah.
So, and the prize was you got tickets to go to the New England Dallas Cowboys game in Foxborough.
That was a fun trip.
And so you're like, I didn't win, but because we weren't together at the time.
It was Brookhollow.
We weren't together at the time.
I think I went to Jeff and I was like, yeah.
Hey, I want to go to this.
I'm going.
And so me and Jeff go to Foxborough.
Oh, man.
And we stay in the casino and we go to the game. We take an Uber there and we hear some wild stories from our Uber driver on the way there. I don't think this podcast is rated for that. And
Wild.
And then we sit in the freezing rain and watch the Cowboy game. And but it was cool getting to see Brady play at Gillette in the winter. Gillette was cool because they had like all these bars around it.
Because there's nothing out there.
There's nothing out there. It's you think it's in Boston, but it's an hour away from Boston essentially, or an hour drive
out there.
And that was a fun trip. It's funny. I was literally looking through my photos last night, and I saw that picture of us 3, like just sitting there, like in front of Gillette, and that
was awesome.
That was a good game. Going to NFL games at other stadiums, it's something like I want to do some more of. I haven't really. I think I've been to the Raiders game in Las Vegas, and I've been to the Cowboys game. Wait, in New England. That was it.
Yeah. And the Raiders game was all time too.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was.
That was sick.
It's funny. We went to the Raiders game last year when we were in Vegas, and I go downstairs to go buy a Raiders sweatshirt, and I'm standing next to Sin Dog from Cypress Hill in line. I was like, "You're Sin Dog," and some other guy recognized him. I was like, "You sang the Rockstar song." It was really cool.
Celebrities.
Okay, so back to Foxborough this weekend. You got the Black Knights giving 2.5 to the midshipmen.
Well, not only am I not a great gambler, I'm also an emotional gambler. So take one guess where my money's laying.
Oh, you're going with the midshipmen.
I am. I was kind of just digging through the stats because I assumed we were going to talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not only, there's a lot of riding on this game for both teams. They're both 5 and 6. So bowl eligibility for either team, whoever wins.
Yeah, that's huge.
Army's a chance. I'm pretty certain.
So are their bowl games still open for them?
Yeah.
Okay, because bowl selection was last weekend.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain. What I read was because they've only played 11 games.
Right. And they will always go to a bowl game if they qualify.
Like you get the military or the Armed Forces Bowl or something like that. There's something somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm certain there's one more spot left out.
Yeah.
But so you got that. If Army wins, they take the Commander-in-Chief trophy from Air Force. So they've got that going for them. But
so Air Force holds it because they beat both of them last year.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So
Army did kick the shit out of Air Force this year.
They did.
And Navy lost to them.
They did. Unfortunately.
So my money's on the Black Knights.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. It's like, it almost like it just doesn't matter in this game. Like a team could be one and
it really doesn't. The energy at that game has to be off the chain.
It's insane.
I was in Tammany and I went to New York during Christmas a couple, 5 or 7 years ago or something. And the game was in New York that year. And it was so cool. Like, I didn't realize that the game was there that year. But then we were out that night, and there's so many cadets just walking around New York and all this stuff. I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like, they just finished the Army-Navy game. That's why they're all here, It was really cool. And so, it'll be interesting. It
will. It's going to be exciting. It's always we mark it on our calendar as a family. It's pretty fun.
The Owls were bowl eligible this year. The Owls got a team this year. I feel like they're a couple plays away from being a little better record than they were.
Yeah.
I thought that they were a good team.
Yeah. I think they definitely turned it around from where they were a few years ago, it feels like. And maybe heading in the right direction. Yeah, it's good to see them get back to a bowl.
So they're playing in the they're playing at SMU.
At SMU, yeah.
What is that bowl called?
I don't know. Is that Heart of Dallas? That would make a lot of sense, right?
That sounds like it. Who are they playing?
That's bad of me. Dallas First Responders Bowl.
First Responders Bowl.
But still not certain. Oh, Texas State. I knew that. Yeah, Texas State.
Texas State actually had a decent year this year.
Yeah.
And they came up with it.
Yeah.
Are you going to go to the Rice Bowl game? When is it? What's the day?
Day after Christmas.
Day after Christmas?
Yeah.
26th? Oh.
Might be.
I know we're going to be in Graham for Christmas Day, so
it's a definite maybe.
Jeffrey wants to roll back to D-Town, although we might be hog hunting. Got a thermal.
It's always a TV.
Yeah.
I don't know. I might.
It's okay. Tex in the Independence Bowl. That's what
we had played in my last year.
So the only bowl game I got to go to and play, or I didn't play in it, but I was saddled up for it, was the Independence Bowl. Yeah. It was funny. It's so funny. I went to my chiropractor yesterday and he goes, did y'all make a bowl? I go, yeah, Independence Bowl. He goes, I went to the Independence Bowl one time. It was Notre Dame and LSU. I was like, I got a funny story about that. I go, so you went to the Independence Bowl in 1997, didn't you? He goes, yeah. I go, well, we went in 1998. And so when we went to the Independence Bowl, I was too young to go to the casinos. So we took our per diem and just threw dice in the hotel room.
Oh my gosh.
But so we were at practice the next day and the older players were there and they're like, yeah, we went to the casino last night. We were sitting at the table and someone goes, hey, who's playing in the Independence Bowl this year? Someone goes, it's Texas Tech and Ole Miss. And someone goes, wasn't it Notre Dame and LSU last year? And they go, yeah. They go, man, this bowl's really falling off.
Dang it. I was thinking that was, we were the Liberty Bowl my last year. I was thinking Shreveport.
Is that Memphis?
Yeah, Shreveport's Independence, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a gross town.
Ooh.
Sorry, Shreveport.
Sorry, Shreveport.
I remember we had a bus that would take us on a run to a restaurant if we want to go to a restaurant. And my old roommate, Paul, he ordered some bread pudding and they didn't bring it in time. So they gave it to him to go. And we get on the bus and he takes one bite and they poured vinegar all in it. He was like, hey, taste this. Oh, I was like, just throw it out the window. So,
no chance.
Well, yeah. So it's a light college football weekend, but bowl season's coming up. Well, I think we just bring this thing home, but
very fun.
A lot of blood, sweat, and tears we've done together on the brokerage battlefield.
Fun to reminisce. Absolutely.
So it's been fun. I'm I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Definitely.
So, well, TP, cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me
again soon. Of course, probably regular guest during football season. So, anyways, thank you for coming.
Yep. Thank you.